The Hanging Watch. Prologue. 2,926 days left. The wagon jostled along the muddy road. Roland always tried his best to steer around the biggest bumps, but the weather had made sure to leave the road in as bad a condition as possible. As they bumped and splashed through another divot, he hoped that the young Master Vernon wouldn't start complaining again. He considered himself decently tempered and able to handle his complaints and whinings, but when on the road for a number of days, his patience was growing thin. "Roland!" Vernon called from within the wagon. "Can we stop for today? I'm tired." Roland considered it. If they stopped early, that would push them even more behind schedule. They would go from half a day late to, that evening? Possibly even the next morning if they also stopped early the following day. But on the other hand, Roland could use the time to take a well-needed short break. Sir Devuth, their hired guard, voiced his vote. "Stop worrying about the schedule, Roland. Some extra time spent at camp never hurts anyone." Fine. Just give me a moment to find a good spot to set up camp," Roland relented. Setting up camp was quick and easy. Both Roland and Devuth were experienced travelers, and having a whole covered wagon to 3 people didn't hurt. Roland stood up after getting a fire pit set up to see Sir Devuth looking at him while fidgeting with his mustache. "What?" "You should go easier on the kid. He's entering adulthood, and from what the rumors say, the academy isn't going to be easy." "Well, you and I both know that rumors are often grossly exaggerated, and the way I see it, he's just going from one silver spoon to another, so I've tried my best to teach him at least some backbone, not that any of my sage advice has stuck." At that, Devuth gave a good, hearty belly laugh. "Why, yes, I'm sure he has taken in and memorized all of your sage advice." "Well, someone had to teach him something. I never saw you showing him how to wield a sword." "Ah, yes." Sir Devuth fumbled for a minute, then unsheathed his sword and let it glitter in the cold evening air. "I did offer to teach the boy, but his father struck down that idea. I believe his exact words were, 'Devuth, you haven't had to use that blade in so long, I'm sure a petty thief could teach him better swordsplay. Besides, Vernon doesn't have the temperament for such things.' And he was quite right. The boy soon after picked up book learning, so I just kept enjoying the benefits of my station." Roland studied the Laughing Knight. He never understood how one becomes so relaxed. "Can you look after the young master for a moment? I need to go take a break." Devuth wiped a tear from his eye. "Why, of course, take your time, friend. I'll keep a close eye on him," he said while sheathing his sword. "And I'll have a nice hot fire ready for you when you return." Roland muttered his thanks to Devuth and started his trek into the forest for a moment of quiet and to relieve himself. Roland found a nice spot in a dense clump of trees, close enough to camp that if needed he could come running back, but far enough that Devuth's singing was muffled by the wind racing through the trees. As he was dealing with his belt buckle, he heard the sound of boots walking towards him in the soft, muddy underbrush. "I'll be with you in a moment," he called out over his shoulder. The sound stopped. Roland finished buckling his pants and turned around. No one was there. He could still hear the muffled sound of Devuth's half-remembered soldier song in the distance. "Hello? Vernon, is that you?" he called out, but was just greeted by a silent forest. He didn't like this. Best case, he was just hearing things, but there were any number of monstrous worst cases he didn't want to consider. He started walking quickly towards the camp, when from behind a tree he was tackled to the ground. His body reacted instinctively before his mind could understand what was attacking him, sending the pair rolling around on the muddy ground, smacking into tree roots, rocks, and who knows what. His mind first screamed, "Monster!" but the knife stabbed into his stomach quickly solidified what was attacking him. A man, a hopeful thief and murderer to be specific. He managed to push his assailant off of him and staggered to his feet, gasping for air and feeling a burning sharp pain in his stomach. He didn't get a moment to look at his wound as the man lunged forward, grabbing and pulling at his ankles, causing Roland to slip and fall back down while banging his head on a tree root. The man scrambled over him, moving with a wild energy like that of a starved animal. His knife, now covered in a mix of mud and blood, slashed through the air, stabbing down on Roland in quick and random locations. Roland's world was quickly fading, growing dim and far. He knew his body was in a lot of pain, but he almost felt detached from it, like he was drifting away. The monster stood up, looking down at him, covered in brown and red, with random items from the forest floor all over him. He slowly turned and started walking away. The camp! The last energy of a dying man sparking to life, Vernon and Davuth needed to be warned. Roland tried to call out, to warn them, but all the forest heard that night was the sound of a dying man choking on his own blood.